Hello, my name is Joshua, and I'm going to be going through some basic Photoshop techniques, or just an overview of Photoshop as a whole. I have CS4. We're going to click on that, open it up, and we're going to go through some of the different things that we have here. These would be all of our tools and our colors and different things like that. We'll go through each one of these here in a second. We don't have anything to color on or to Photoshop, so we're either going to open up or make a new canvas. To make a new one, you want to go Command N, and this will pop up, and you can name it and preset custom, or you can change the pixels. Let's just go an 800 by 600. Change the resolution to 100 pixels per inch. RGB, because we're going to be working in video. If we were working in for newspaper or for print, we would use the CMYK. But RGB is our stuff, so we're going to do that. Hit OK, and it will create a new canvas for us, a new blank canvas. If we wanted to open up a picture, we would go Command O, and that will bring up your documents, and you can scroll down and go to your photos, which I don't even know how many photos I have in here, but there's one of a baseball. We'll grab this of a baseball and open it up. Now, this was the dimensions of this are pretty huge, because this is almost full screen, and you can see 25% down here. That's where it's at. So if we bump this up to 100, that is the actual full-fledged baseball right there. So that is the way you change that. You just select it, type in a value, and hit enter. Now, one of the tools that we have right now is the magic wand. So if I click on this white area, you will see that there's a bunch of squiggly lines everywhere. Now what that's doing, the magic wand is going to select a section of a specific color. Now what it is if you want to select only red, you would select some of the red. Now it doesn't select all of the red unless it's connected. It doesn't select all of the color unless it's connected. Now you'll notice as I hit the white, it doesn't get this part over here, and it gets this up here, so it's not only getting the paper, but it's getting part of the table that I took this picture on. Now you'll notice up here there's tolerance. So if we bump the tolerance down to like 25 and hit enter, and then click back on our canvas, it would select less of everything. Let's do it more of an exaggerated. See, and that could pose a problem. Now, if we hold shift down, you can see that there's an addition symbol that appears beside our magic wand. So hit shift and hold it down, and then click, and you can add to your selection. And this may take you a while depending on what you're doing. See, we already have stuff up here. This is a bad picture to show this, but at least you're getting the point. We'll select. We'll see if we can select everything except the baseball. Okay, now one thing you can do in Photoshop is you can go Command X, and it's going to delete everything except for that baseball that we had selected. Well, everything that we had selected. Now you'll notice down here I have white color on top and pink on the bottom. When you delete something, it's going to expose the bottom color if you have a layer as a background. Now, one thing that I usually always do is, you don't have to do this, but one thing I always do is double click the background, and it'll bring it up, say make a new layer. It's not going to make a new layer, it's going to make that background a layer. So I just hit enter, and now it changes from a background to a layer. So if I click the pink again and hit delete, now you have all these checkered marks. And what that means is that if you save this as a PSD, which is a Photoshop file, or some other files, it's going to be transparent where you see the checkerboard. Now moving on, let's see, you can. This is your selection tool, so we can actually grab the baseball and move it all around or whatnot. but I don't really want to do that. I have snapping on, and what snapping does is if I get real close to the edge, it'll snap into place. But you can move this all around or whatnot. Let's say you didn't have snapping on and you really wanted it to get back in the same exact place. What you would want to do is go Command, hold Command down, and hit Z, and that's undo. That's what that means, is undo. There's a lot of quick keys is what Apple calls them. You really need to learn those if you want to be a fast editor. Quick keys will save you a lot of time. Now right here we have our selection tool, and it's in the form of a square. If you click and hold the button down, you can see a rectangle, elliptical, single row, single row. We have a baseball, so why don't we click on select the elliptical marquee tool, and what you can do is select around the baseball. You can go hold Command down and hit C, and what that is copy, and Command V is paste. So now we've copied the baseball and pasted it, and you have 2 baseballs. You can actually do it again if you wanted to and have 3 baseballs. Now when you do that, it makes each one of those a different layer over here. So you'll see all these different layers. And you can hide layers if you want to. There's an eyeball. The eyeball is off. You have hidden the layer. The eyeball is on. That means that the layer is there. So you can do any of that. Now, if you want to delete a layer, you select it and hit delete. You can do it that way, or you can actually select the layer, click and drag it down to the trash can, and it will go away. Let's say we don't want to get rid of that last one, so Command Z is undo. There you go. We got that back. And you also have a history. I always like to have my history folder up over here. And if you want to go back to, let's say, to where we had all 3 of them, and we have moved them, then you can. Or you can go back to the very original picture that we had. I have it to save so many. I don't think that it's set to save every single move that I make, because that'll take up a lot of space, but you can set it to save a lot of undos if you so choose to do that. Right now I'm going to show you some more things. This right here is our polygonal lasso tool, magnetic lasso tool, and just the regular old lasso tool. Now what the polygonal lasso tool does is you can click and make points to select. And there's a little circle that'll come up when you have connected all the lines, and then that is a way that you can select a shade, or if you have you're correcting somebody's facial features and they have a blemish, you can select around the dot or whatever's on their face, and you can actually just change that selection. So if I wanted to select my well, we can go, here's the eraser. If we want to select the eraser, and let's make this a little bit bigger. We wanted to, well, that's on layer 2. So let's see here, we gotta go to layer 0. We wanted to just erase that. It won't let me erase any of this baseball or any of this baseball, just what is in this one. Now also, if you aren't selected onto that layer, the middle layer is 0. If you select it on layer 1, it won't let you erase anything, because technically there's nothing in layer 1 within this selection. So you have to be on the layer which something is in to be able to do anything with it, with the polygonic lasso tool, or any of the lasso tools. The magnetic lasso tool, whoops, hang on, let me see here. The magnetic lasso tool, you select really, we're on the middle one, you select really close to the baseball, and then drag it along the edge. It will magnetically connect to the edge of the ball. Whoop, got a little bit far out there. If you get too far away from it, you'll get a little bit more than what you want. But then you can Control X, you know, undo, copy, paste, you know, do whatever you would like to do. We just made another layer, another baseball. But there you go. That's how we do some of that. And now we're going to move on, and I'll show you the crop tool. We're not going to get into the slice or slice selector tool. We're just going to stick with the crop tool right now. And this will crop the entire picture. And I have it set right now to, well, hang on, let me undo this, to a width of 4 inches by 3 inches. So 4 by 3 is what I have the crop tool selected as. Now, I want the entire baseball. I just made a selection, so what I can actually do is move this whole thing down to where it's only around that particular baseball. And if you hit enter, there you go. Now you can still see some of the other baseball there. So we can just go ahead and take layer 1 and hit delete. So now we're back to having just one baseball. We're at 25%. I'm going to make it 100%. Ooh, that's still really, really big. This is an older baseball. You can see that. Let's go back down to 55. Now what you can also do with this, say it's too big. You don't like it. You want it to be smaller. You can go up to image and go to image size. When you go to image size, it'll bring up the dimensions. Now it'll give you the approximate, well, no it won't. Resolution is 355. We need to back that down. Back that down to about 100. Let's see what that does. And then that will be the 100% that you see there. So we scaled it down. That's at it's at 100% right now. And there we go. Some other things that you might want to use would be the paintbrush tool, which or the brush tool, pencil tool, color replacement tool. We'll go with the brush tool right now, and we're going to select something besides white. Let's go with red. Or if you wanted to, if you see a little eyedropper there, you can actually select that color red or this color black, which is actually probably a grayish or brown, or any part of the baseball, any part of the picture that you want. So we'll just select that, and it will give you all of the numbers, the hue, saturation, all this information that you need, and the actual name of that color is that right there. That would be the number. Once we develop more of our knowledge of the Adobe products, you will see why this number is important. When you use After Effects and you want to match color, you can just select that number and copy it and paste it into other programs, and it will be uniform, a uniform color. So you may want to, that's some good information we'll use later. Hit OK, and then you can just blot out the baseball if you wanted to. Now, this is too big. We can't do anything like that. We can't touch up the baseball like that. It would just cover the whole entire thing up. So we're going to go up here to the top where it says brush, and set 391 diameter, or pixel diameters. We're going to bump this down to about, let's go 30. And the hardness, which would be how you can see these 135, these are the pixels, and then the hardness is how much of a fade it's going to have. So we're going to go with 35 right here, soft round. We're just going to select that. And what you do is you can see that there's a fade around the edge. Now I don't like that, so what we're going to do is Control Z, undo, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to make a new layer. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. One, we could steal layer 2, which doesn't have anything in it, and we could just grab it and, well, sorry, click and drag it below layer 0 there, which is our baseball, and you can actually do stuff. Whoops. If you select, that's one thing you always need to make sure is that you are on the correct layer that you want to make changes to. Select layer 2, and we can actually color the background of this baseball if we wanted to in layer 2. Now, if you want to make a new layer, go down here to what looks like a piece of paper flipping over, and that's the Create New Layer button. Click on that, and it created us a new layer. If you double click on the layer where the letters are at, you can name it. Hit enter, and if you actually double click off to the side, this will bring up the layer style. Actually, let's put something in this new layer first. Well, no, let's go to the baseball. Double click on the baseball. And what we're going to do, I'm going to pull this over to the side so that you can see some of the changes we're about to make. Drop shadow. You see the drop shadow. It has come across the left side of the baseball. And if we highlight drop shadow, you can see some of the different things, the changes that the baseball changes that are being made to the baseball. Now, we have an angle of 30 degrees that we could change on the shadow. What I want to do is I'm going to bump up the opacity and bump up the distance so you can see the angle change a little bit better. So if we changed it, you can see that the angle of the shadow changes. And then we can bring back down the opacity, and then the distance could change back, and change the size of the shadow, which to see the major changes, let's do that again. The size of it and the spread of it if you want to make bigger changes. But you can do all different sorts of things to make this a logo or change it or do whatever you want to do with it. Okay, drop shadow. Now we're going to unselect or deselect the drop shadow and click on the inner shadow. And what that is that looks like it's recessed into the layer or into the paper, and you can see that, right? See that around the edges here. The distance, the choke, size. The best thing to do with this is to get in there and play around with this for the inner shadow and whatnot. The outer glow, of course, you can bump up the opacity, and it's difficult to see with there being a transparent background, but you can see there's a little yellow trim around the edges. Your inner glow, which is kind of like your inner shadow, it'll do an inner glow. You select that, the bevel and emboss. Doesn't really work well on an already embossed baseball, but when you're making your logos, you might be able to see it a little better. There you go. There you go. You can see how that works there. Then you can soften it if you wanted to. Satin, it just kind of changes the color of it. Color overlay, obviously that makes a color overlay. You select different colors or whatnot. And we'll see how to use these tools a little bit more later because it's difficult to show you how to apply all of these in one short tutorial. Pattern overlay, and then of course stroke. And you see all these dots. These are all the imperfection dots that we got from using the magic wand tool, and it didn't get all of the specks out. So you'll see things like that if you don't get a clean break on everything. We have our eraser tool, which does just that. Now remember, Command Z is undo. And with the eraser tool, you can also select your diameter and the hardness of it. So if you want there to be some soft erasing, you can do that. Our paint bucket, which is just what you think it is. It just dumps paint. And you can change some different things with that. Our gradient tool will add gradients to it. Select on new layer, and if you click up here you can select different gradients. We'll go to this one right here is our maroon to pink, which is what our colors are down here. So let's change this pink to something like blue, and then go up here and select that. Make start point and out point, and there you go. Now that looks kind of funny, so we'll show you something else. You can actually change it to where it looks like it's coming to a point, or a circle, or a diamond, or layered. Just all depends on what you want to do. and you can change your colors around, make it a little bit more transparent if you want to, just the red hue over there, whatnot. Give it some depth. And we have the blur and sharpen tool, which I'll show you guys later. The dodge tool. Hang on a second. Let me go here. I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. Turn up the hardness. Oh wait, I'm not doing anything because I'm not on the right layer. There we go. The dodge tool makes it lighter, so you can make sections of this lighter if you wanted to. We'll just take this bottom little section down there and make the bottom of the baseball a little bit lighter. And then if you wanted to take the burn tool, we will turn this down as well. Hardness all the way up, diameter down. We'll make the top part darker. And if you now, there you go. We made change to the baseball. You can change the range from midtones to shadows to highlights, the exposure, lots of different options with that. Sponge tool, it absorbs, well, it does exactly what it says. It absorbs some of the color and some of the grain as well. This is an anchor pen. We won't use this very much, but I will show you how to do it in a different tutorial. Typing tool, which you guessed it, it will allow us to type letters. Baseball. We won't use a whole lot of that in Photoshop with this class. And then our selector, path selection tool, direct selection tool. We'll go over that some more later. Rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygon tool. You can make those different shapes with this. 3D, we won't work a whole lot in 3D with Photoshop, and then the hand tool and rotate view tool. We might get into that a little bit later. And then the zoom tool, your magnifying glass, which now that we have scaled this baseball down, you can actually see some pixelations. Well, we're at 1,000. Of course, you can see some pixelations, but if we go up to 500, you can still see some pixelations that you wouldn't have had we kept it at its original pixels, the baseball, the original picture. But that is a quick, very quick overview of Photoshop and some of the different things that you can do with Photoshop. You'll be designing a logo in this class, and I hope that this has helped at least show you some of the basics with Photoshop.